Watch how the House of Commons erupts as MPs accuse police leadership of betraying public trust, with fierce questions over policing standards, leadership failures and public confidence. This explosive debate goes far beyond politics. It strikes at the heart of whether the public can still trust those sworn to protect them. Before we continue, hit like and subscribe to Britain Daily for more explosive political coverage. Let's watch this explosive clip.
Robert Jenrick.
A white man on a night out in Birmingham is assaulted by two black men. The police intervene and they arrest the white man, the victim, and they allow the two black lads to flee the scene. They then call the victim a dick and they hit his head against a police car whilst they're sticking him in it. They then misrepresent what happened at the event, saying that it was a fight when actually it was an assault. And then they say absolutely nothing is wrong. Then the footage goes viral, as ever, and the police are forced to change their tune. Footage the police actually tried to suppress. Three simple questions for the police minister. 1. Does she consider this to be another appalling incident of two-tier policing? Number two, will she haul the acting chief constable...
Order, I'm on my feet. Mr Jenrick, one question is normally enough, and I've given you the privilege of two. Minister. Order, Mr Jenrick. You know better. Minister.
There is no room in policing for anything other than the police to do their job without fear or favour. And that involves treating everybody equally under the law. Where the police are trained, where they have good leadership, where they are given good support, we believe we can ensure there will be better outcomes for the citizens that we are all here to serve. That is the point of the leadership work that has been done over many months. It's the point of our reform programme. Where things go wrong, of course, we must shine a light on those things. And there has been a huge amount of work over the last few years in terms of policing wearing, for example, body-worn cameras, publishing that evidence so that people can see for themselves, being quicker to speak publicly about what's happened in certain incidents. All those things are important, transparent changes that we are making to our police. But at its core, we need to make sure we are trying to bring people together through the reforms that will give people the policing that we all need.
And pay tribute to the noble Lords Herbert and Blunkett for producing such a timely and thoughtful report. The last year has done real damage to public confidence in police leadership. Of course, this report rightly recognises that there are many outstanding officers leading forces across the country. But the headlines people remember tell a different story. From the shameful scenes surrounding the Maccabi-Tel Aviv match to the heartbreaking murder of Henry Novak, alongside too many other incidents, the public have been left asking a simple question: who is in charge? Leadership is not about managing decline or issuing guidance. It's about setting a culture. It's about making it unmistakably clear that the first duty of every police officer is to protect the public and uphold the law, without fear, without favour and without distraction. The report gets to the heart of that when it says police leaders must refuse to take sides and remain focused entirely on preventing crime, catching criminals and bringing offenders to justice. Culture starts at the top. If we want frontline policing to change, leadership must change first. What struck me most about this report was not simply its recommendations, but the evidence behind them. This is not the work of critics looking in from the outside. It reflects what police officers themselves are saying. As the authors acknowledged in their letter to stakeholders, much of the evidence made for uncomfortable reading. Perhaps the most alarming finding is that only 13% of constables and just 17% of sergeants surveyed believe they worked in a well-led and well-managed organisation. Think about that. More than 4 in 5 of the officers who put themselves in harm's way to keep our streets safe do not believe they work in a well-led organisation. If that does not ring alarm bells, I do not know what will. Time does not permit me to go through all 27 recommendations, but there is much here that deserves support. In particular, I welcome the emphasis on merit. Our best officers should be recognised, developed and promoted because they're the best, not because they've ticked the right boxes. But we also have to be honest about the context. The report sits alongside a programme of wider police reform announced by the government. However, reports now suggest that the incoming Prime Minister is already getting cold feet about those reforms. That matters, because many of these recommendations assume larger forces and more centralised models. If they don't happen, ministers need to explain how these recommendations will work in practice rather than simply in principle. There is another contradiction that cannot be ignored. If we want stronger leadership, we need to give police leaders the tools they need to succeed. That means enough officers on the streets and the technology to help them do their jobs effectively. Instead, officer numbers have fallen by around 1,300 across the country. At the same time in London, the Labour Mayor chose to pick a public fight with his own Commissioner over the use of technology, with the Commissioner making clear that the Mayor's decision would leave the force able to achieve less. How can we demand better leadership while cutting officer numbers and denying forces the technology they say they need? There is much in this report that members on all sides can support. Better leadership is not a partisan cause. It is a public necessity. But if we're serious about restoring confidence in policing, we cannot stop at identifying what police leaders should do differently. We also have to stop making political decisions that make their job harder. The public deserves better, our best officers deserve better, and the future of policing depends on us getting both police leadership and political leadership correct.
Thank you. Can I thank the Honourable Member for welcoming this report, and I agree with some of what he has said. I think he's absolutely right to say that this isn't the work of critics looking in from the outside. The evidence base that has been developed through 9 months of very forensic work talking to police from across all levels within the force has meant that this is a very honest assessment of the realities that we find ourselves in. Police leadership has been a problem, as I said in my statement, for some time. If you look at the HMIC FRS inspections of police forces, if you look across 23 to 25, for example, 2023 to 25, not a single force came out as outstanding when it came to leadership. There are leadership challenges across all our forces in different ways. And I agree with him that the public need to believe in the police and be confident in policing. And the statistics on public confidence in policing have been worrying for some years now, and we must all together look at those. He made the usual point about officer numbers, and I'll make the usual point back, which is, as he knows, that the party opposite cut 20,000 police. They then recruited 20,000 police, and they put 12,000 of them behind desks. We are taking them away from desks and putting them on the front line, and we are investing in technology. Police AI, for example, where I have put £75 million to transform the bureaucracy that our police officers we know have to spend a lot of their time doing, so we can take that away so they can focus on the front line. But overall, I welcome his nice comments on the leadership review. I think it's been incredibly important, and that cross-party agreement that we need to improve leadership within policing is very important.
I'm grateful to the Minister for the £100 million grant she's given to Lincolnshire Police and the transformative extra £12 million a year. We've been campaigning this for years, and we've averted 400 job losses. So when the government does something right, I think it's right that we should say thank you. However, she may want to say a word about our problem we've got. We're losing our excellent Police and Crime Commissioner, and she could perhaps say a nice word about him, Mark Jones. And we're going to transfer the powers to the Mayor, but we have the Lincolnshire Police and the Humberside Police. And the Humberside Police, of course, straddles 2 mayoralties, so she has got a problem. May I just urge her in any local reorganisation not to do away with small police forces like Lincolnshire, to concentrate on old-fashioned policing, not woke, not courses, not staff, old-fashioned policing, and try and avoid throwing too many chairs up in the air with boundary reorganisation.
Can I thank him for his words about the funding for Lincolnshire, and of course join him in praising the Police and Crime Commissioner, and indeed all Police and Crime Commissioners. We never had a problem with the model in terms of the individuals who held them. It was more the elected model that we don't think is right. As you will know, Lord Bernard Hogan-Howe is doing a review for us currently on what the structures should be in a reformed police force that would sit between a national police service and local police areas, and the local police areas will be absolutely absolutely key to this, and he will have some very interesting things to say about that, I know. And finally, he asked for policing not to be woke, not to have courses, all of these things. I think there's a lot to unpick in what we want our police to do. We want them to be able to have the skills to make the common sense, good, practical decisions to catch criminals and keep us all safe. In order to do that, we have to make sure there is good training, and that is what has been lacking. There has been very little leadership training at any level in policing. If you look at the army, after 15 years after leaving Sandhurst, a colonel in charge of 1,500 people would have had on average 72 weeks of leadership development. A chief super in the Met will have had 2 or 3 weeks tops in that time. That cannot be right. We have to teach people to be the leaders that we need them to be.
Thank you. Would the Minister agree with me that the leadership malaise outlined in this report can be in big part attributed to the lack of clarity from this place and from the government about what we expect of the police? And whilst this report is welcome, in paragraph 90 the definition of police leadership runs to almost 2 pages. Would she agree with me that in essence is about 2 things? First, cutting crime. Too often the leadership of the police are focused on being all-purpose social workers trying to solve every problem of society, leading to the extraordinary situation where social media is policed more aggressively than shoplifting or burglary. And secondly, having officers' backs. Too often, police officers fear acting because they'll be hung out to dry if they make the wrong call. And I'm afraid we saw exactly that this weekend in the extraordinary scenes at this Pride March, where there was explicit anti-Semitism directly attacking Jews, with the police standing back and watching. We have to achieve a cultural change. Would you agree with me in those objectives?
What a passionate and deeply significant debate that was in the House of Commons. MPs from across the political spectrum expressed concern about the state of policing and public confidence. Robert Jenrick raised questions about a recent policing incident, asking whether it reflected unequal treatment under the law and calling for greater accountability from police leadership. Other MPs argued that a series of high-profile controversies has damaged confidence in policing and highlighted the need for stronger leadership, better training and clearer priorities. The government rejected suggestions that the police should treat anyone differently under the law. Ministers stressed that policing must always be carried out without fear or favour and pointed to ongoing reforms aimed at improving leadership, transparency, frontline policing and public confidence. They also defended new investment in technology and leadership training, arguing that these reforms will help officers focus on fighting crime and protecting communities. For millions of people watching, this debate reaches far beyond Westminster. Every family wants to feel safe in their community. Every victim expects fairness, professionalism, and equal treatment from the police, regardless of background or circumstance. Public confidence in policing is built through trust, accountability, and consistent application of the law. Today's Commons exchange showed just how seriously Parliament is treating those concerns, but it also demonstrated that there remains sharp disagreement over how policing should be reformed. What do you think? Are current reforms enough to restore confidence in policing, or is much more change still needed? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this coverage, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Britain Daily, and turn on notifications so you never miss the biggest Commons debates, PMQs, clashes, and breaking political news from Westminster.